Welcome to NPR, Northampton Poetry Radio, with erstwhile Poet Laureate, Rich Michelson. Rich, welcome to the show.
Well,
welcome back.
Thank you.
We're so pleased. You have a new book. Which
I have a new book out, yeah.
Fabulous.
We'll
Congratulations.
talk poetry soon. First, let's talk books.
Well, books, poetry. I think that your prose is poetry. So tell us about your new book and why you inspired to write it. The title is What Louis Brandeis Knows, A Crusader for Social Justice Becomes a Supreme Court Justice. It is a picture book.
It's a picture book?
It is also, well, I loved this conversation I had with Rich Michelson. I said, Rich, what age group is this intended for?
And
who
I
did
say
you write it for? And
7 to death.
Right.
Yes, I never know what age it's going to be geared to. But, it's my feeling. I mean, there are adult books that children won't enjoy, but I'm a firm believer that if there's no such thing as a good children's book that doesn't also appeal to adults. And I think the guilty secret is many adults use their kids as a reason to read children's books. And this is a biography of Louis Brandeis, who seems to have dropped out of the conversation. And I think that...
because it's inconceivable we have a Supreme Court justice who actually is involved in social justice.
It's amazing. Researching this book.
We have 3 left.
Researching this book, it was amazing to me to see how far we have fallen as a country. Also, how prescient Brandeis was in his day. I mean, not only
the dangers lurking in the shadows.
It's unbelievable. I mean, in his rulings, he said things like, "We can have a democracy, or we can have let's see. I actually have it written down here. We may have democracy, or we may have wealth concentrated in the hands of a few, but we cannot have both. We have to choose." He was the first Supreme Court, the first lawyer, when he was a lawyer, to accuse the President Taft at the time, of lying to the public.
Which we should point out was actually a really big deal at the time, because presidents weren't known to lie, and if they did, that was a horrible event in the country.
It was never done before. Brandeis was accused of being ungentlemanly, and a lot of not only was it rare for a attorney to call out the president for lying, but a Jew on top of it. There was a lot of back and forth, a lot of dog whistles. What happened was, briefly, Taft had promised to save Alaskan wildlands to the public, while he was doing some backroom dealing to sell them to mining companies.
I've never heard of such a thing.
Yeah. And Brandeis basically represented a whistleblower and called the president to task, said that he was lying. The president Taft said that he wasn't. He was not doing that. Unfortunately, his department did not get the memo that they were not supposed to have the memo. And it came out that they had to bring to the subcommittee the letter signed by Taft doing exactly what he just said he had never done.
So, Rich Michelson, tell us this, if you would. You are an artist, you are a poet, you are an author. What got you interested in Louis Brandeis?
Well, I'm also a citizen of this country. As Brandeis said, the only the only office in this country more important than the president is the citizens. Can you imagine a Supreme Court justice talking like that? But on the practical level, I will tell you that Brandeis University Press, about 5-6 years ago, contacted me. They were wanted to do a fully illustrated book on Brandeis. And they asked, they wanted to do an illustrated book. They asked if I had any ideas. They were starting a program for the press to do illustrated books. And I said, well, you're Brandeis University. How about we start with a biography of Louis Brandeis? They said, oh, that's a brilliant idea. You see how this works?
You came up, let's write a book about Brandeis for Brandeis. How did you ever come up with that?
I mean, it's unbelievable. So I started researching him. They then decided that they were not going to follow. That was just, COVID was happening. Everybody was a little nervous. They decided that they were not going to put that project forward. But at that point, I was hooked. I spent a year reading every decision that Brandeis made. I read his private letters. If you're writing a book for children, the hardest part is leaving out everything you've learned because you want to pretend that you're smart and you know stuff. But you need to learn it just to get in his head. So when you're writing it, you're authentic and you're writing from his point of view, even if you are not showing off, and even if those decisions are not coming into play because they happen later in the book or in the end notes. But I was amazed, considering at the time Trump had just appointed 2 Supreme Court justices. Amy Coney Barrett was yet to come. And Brandeis was the very first contentious nominee. When he was nominated, there was a huge backlash. He was called again just about every dog whistle you can for a Jewish attorney. There were people were told he had double loyalties. He would not be working in the best interests of the United States, that he was sly. It was just went on and on and on.
Is also, Louis Brandeis was also known for his wit. He was supposed to have a very sharp sense of humor, which at times I've read in his opinions.
Yes, yeah. Although I have to say, most of his opinions are slogging through. It was not the most fun reading I've ever done in my life. He was not writing for the public in general. He was writing for a specialty audience.
But he had a kind of sarcasm that was really witty.
Yeah. Yeah, and
it wasn't biting. It wasn't angry.
And he was sharp. When they wanted to allow wiretapping, the government wanted to allow wiretapping to try to catch prospective criminals. He, on the court, argued against that only because he said, if we allow that now, we have no idea what technological opportunities will open into the future to allow the government to spy on us in our very homes. I mean, this is before the internet, before we're all allowing our computers to follow us around, our phones to follow us around. And he also was the first justice to speak out in terms of personal privacy, that we have a right to privacy, that we're not shouldn't be followed in the streets. I mean, almost everything that's gone wrong since he predicted.
Right, and what he said that was really progressive, even radically progressive for its time, was the Fourth Amendment, which protects against unreasonable searches and seizures of persons and places and things. What that is about at its core is the right to privacy.
Yes.
And the Supreme Court said, well, the word privacy doesn't appear there. And he said, yeah, but that's the core of it. That's what we're trying to protect, is people's privacy. And he understood what the founders were getting at, because not every word could possibly be in the original Constitution, but the concept was there, and he grasped it, and he said, this is what the law should be. It is what the Constitution provides. It is what it stands for, and it was the dissent.
And yes, and that, you know, that came about, interestingly, that notion, when his law partner was getting married. Brandeis was, I won't quote myself, but it was his best friend in Harvard Law School. Okay, and they opened their own practice in Boston, and his partner's wife did not invite Brandeis to the marriage, even though it was her husband's best friend, because she came from high society and did not want a
Jews
Jew
would not be allowed. Yep.
at the wedding. However, during the lead up to the wedding, this is the beginning of photography, the following people around. The newspaper printed some unflattering pictures of her. Okay, so she, even though Brandeis was not invited to the wedding because he was, of a lower caliber, she was not above asking.
Lower caliber
him,
because he was a Jew?
because
or
he was a
lower
Jew.
Okay.
Because he was a Jew. There was a lot of anti-Semitism. His partner, it was Warren and Brandeis, attorneys at law. But she recognized his brilliance and asked him to figure out a way to keep the newspapers from printing the pictures of her that showed her in an unfavorable light. And that is the beginning of Right to Privacy.
Wow. We are speaking with Rich Michelson. His new book is What Louis Brandeis Knows, A Crusader for Social Justice Becomes a Supreme Court Justice. The book is available where, Rich? And it was just published, we should note.
Well, it just came out a week ago in your bookstores. Every bookstore around should have it. Go online, get it from all the online booksellers.
Nah,
if
go to your
you're
local
in town,
independent bookstore.
If you're in town, stop by our Michelson galleries. I'll sign a copy for you, or the local bookstores.
What Louis Brandeis Knows, A Crusader for Social Justice Becomes a Supreme Court Justice. You'll want to read it, and so will your kids and grandkids.